All right, so another area that we get a lot of questions about is medical malpractice. There's a lot of hospitals along the Grand Strand and the coast, so we naturally see a lot of calls about those. One thing that I think people may have a misconception of is that generally I think folks have this idea that if you have a bad result from a procedure, a surgery, or some other treatment that a healthcare professional, whether that's a doctor or someone else, is providing you, means you have a medical malpractice case, and that's not necessarily true. In these cases, we have to show that there was a breach in the standard of care, and that's obviously a legal term that's difficult to put out on paper in terms of the simplest explanation, but it really means that if whoever was treating you was a competent, reasonable doctor or healthcare professional anywhere else in the country or anywhere else in South Carolina, they're required to do the same thing that another doctor would do in that procedure, that treatment. If they're diagnosing you for something, what is another doctor going to look for? What is the standard of care for diagnosing breast cancer, for example? Or what is the standard of care for performing a hernia surgery? Those are the things we're looking for, and it's very, very fact dependent. Many times it involves getting the opinion of an expert witness from somewhere else or in the same field that the healthcare professional works in. There are a few instances where we don't need that expert opinion. A misfilled prescription, for example, or leaving a foreign instrument in you after a surgery, like a scalpel, a sponge, or a surgical clip. We have one of those cases right now. That's an area where you don't need an expert opinion to know that the doctor did something, or the hospital or the healthcare provider did something they weren't supposed to do. When we explain it to folks, we sometimes say the standard of care is, if a doctor is always supposed to do X, they didn't do X in this procedure, or they're never supposed to do Y, and they did Y in this procedure. It can involve a lot of things: a misdiagnosis, a failure to diagnose, using the wrong technique in a procedure, misfilled prescription. Any number of those things can equate to a medical malpractice case, and so it really is very important, if you think you have one, to contact somebody that handles medical malpractice cases, and we'd be happy to talk to you about yours if you think you have one. Hope everybody has a good weekend.